sang this song to me. There was a message in its melody, sweetest lyrics that I ever heard. There's a message in the songs of birds. Tomorrow is another day. Living is the only way. Tomorrow's gonna ever come. Listen to the words of the song. Everything gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be.
Greetings to everyone that's listening, and I am incredibly happy today, you guys, because I've had some internet and computer issues, and that worked just fine. We are live, and I want to thank all of you all who always watch my podcast religiously, just because of the great information, as you say, that I bring to you every other week. Today is going to be the same, okay? So I actually had to go out and do a little cheating on this person because this person's got a whole lot to talk about. So you know when you listen to me, what do you need? Pencil and paper, okay? So I hope you're ready. So here we go. So coming to the Soul Stirring Sip of Inspiration podcast today is Dominique Brightmon. So do you like Dom or Dominique?
Either one is good as long as it's not Tyrone.
I knew we were going to be friends right away because people say, what, do you like to be called Stephanie or Steph? I said, just don't call me late for dinner, okay? So he is a positive thought catalyst. He's a certified Maxwell Leadership Training. He is a best-selling author too, and the host of the Going North podcast, which is a show that champions authors and the power of the written word. One of his beliefs is advancing others to advance themselves. And today he's here to help us unlock the business of anything you want to talk about. He can do content creation, purpose-driven leadership, and mindset of service. He can do all of that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and we're going to have some fun. So sitting here, have you ever really wondered how you could leave your mark on others?
That's a great question. That is a great question, Dave. First time I actually got that on the podcast. Funny enough, not all the time. I'm going to be honest, not all the time, because sometimes I'm so focused on doing the task at hand, I'm not even focusing on impact. But really, that can be the impact as well, because you have to really do the work at that foundational level so that way you can build up to where you're really impacting folks at a higher level. And really just standing on the shoulders of giants, really, from all the folks who've mentored me in my whole life and really instilled principles into me, especially my dad, especially late into his life when he was still volunteering and helping out the church when he was a trustee there, and also like helping out those heavy boxes when he was in his early 80s still. And it's just like, hey, just always leaving the mark on the world is really just planting that seed of kindness, planting that seed of helpfulness, and really planting that seed of information and just helping others to really succeed in life. And yeah, it's just been one heck of a journey, and had a great set of mentors that have really helped me out. And say not all the time, because I'm so focused on doing the task at hand at times, but it does pop in my head. And the life I'm living now, and really through the content that I create, and really just networking with other people, and really just helping folks to advance in life, it's really been beautiful to see. And I'm grateful for that opportunity to really just plant and leave an impact on the world.
So how did you start calling yourself the positive thought catalyst?
I have to tell you, branding, thank you so much. I have to tell you, like, branding can be one heck of an interesting thing, because especially in business for a while, because at first it was motivational speaker, then motivational speaking librarian, because of the day job as a librarian, funny enough, been doing that for years. And then eventually like self-leadership coach, self-leadership expert. And then one day I was reading this book called Speak More by the National Speakers Association, where I believe it was about 50 different speakers from 50 different fields of expertise, but at the end of the day, all helping you to really build up your brand and speak. And I was coming up with a new intro because I had to modify some things because I was using an intro from, I guess, the 2010s or 2010s, and I had to really update it because things have changed. I've gotten a few more wins under my belt. I can actually mention some more things. And when I was rewriting the intro out multiple times, the title of Positive Thought Catalyst came to mind because I'm really all about helping people to think more positive, think better, and be more rock solid with their optimism. And the word catalyst is one of my favorite words, just really to help folks to really just be that spark in other people to help them really just jump in and really have that more lighthearted, joyful demeanor and to really just have that brighter side of life. So that really just came from just years of having to rebrand, rewrite introductions, and just really having to polish things up to the fact is like, oh wait, this is all starting to make sense now. It's like, oh, positive thought catalyst, like checking the domain name too for it and making sure I snag that too off a name sheet so that way I can actually have the domain name for it and really just catalyzing what I do.
I know when you said that and snatching it off the domain wall, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm so glad I'm not the only person that owns about 9 domains.
Oh yeah, that's the thing about entrepreneurship. Like you can't really. You got me stunned because it's so true. I probably got like 15 domains, 15 to 30. One guy I know he's probably got like 200 of them. It's crazy. It's like, oh, this is an idea. Let me get it now. No one's thought of it yet. Act fast. Money loves speed.
So, what inspired you to adopt the motto "Advance others to advance yourself"?
Fun question. One of my favorite books that I've read in the past, I'd say it's been 10 years. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. That book is actually,
Oh, that
shoot,
book's
I
awesome.
think, yeah, it is. I'm glad you read it too. That's over 100 years old. That's the actual precursor to the hit movie The Secret from, funny enough, 2005, 2006,
Mhm.
really about the law of attraction. But in that book in particular, there's a chapter in there called The Advancing Man and having an advancing personality when it comes to really just being about your business, make it your business, help other folks in business and in life. And it kind of reminds me of this networking event I went to at one time where we were all chatting at this one table over breakfast before the opening keynote started. One guy came in late with this big old bag of just, it was open and stuff was falling out of it. And he just saw a group of guys talking. Was like, "Oh, wait, he's some brothers too." All right, he just came up, threw his bag down, got a big old box of business cards out, handing out all these business cards to people. And one guy karate blocked his hand. It was like, "Hey, man, at least say hi first before handing out your business card like you're throwing ninja stars in the kung fu movie." And because the thing was, he was about business, but going about it the wrong way. He was thinking about himself, getting his name out there without actually getting to know other people first. And that is what the advancing personality is all about in the opposite way of like, hey, get to know people first, find out what their problems are, find out where they're succeeding in, and so I can help them fix their problems with a solution or help them get more wins under their belt. And then when I remember one of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar, the late great Zig Ziglar, of if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want. I combined the two and realized, wait, advance others to advance yourself. Because when you help others to advance in life, you too will advance because they will indeed come back down. And it may not even be them. It may just be karmic where out of nowhere you may be like, hey, I'm I know it's rough doing the DEI topic these days. I know someone who can get around that and call it something else and really give them the really inclusion piece of it in a different way. Like, let me recommend that speaker. And then out of nowhere, I get invited to speak at another event or do an audiobook or really just a guest on a wonderful podcast and just all these different opportunities. So that's really where Advance Others to Advance Yourself came from, was just reading the material and living out the material.
Okay. And in this day, as you mentioned, right, the DEI stuff, I found myself going back to something that I was sort of doing before, and that's dealing with people's energy and stuff like that. So I ended up using something that never thought I was gonna use, but it was always in my stuff. So that's what I did. So I do some dynamic energy leadership programs now. And I was always doing energy stuff if I'd have known. So, if I'd have just paid attention, like you said, and somebody says, well, you always do energy because that's the first thing that I check for when you're talking to people and see what they're doing and how they're going. So tell us about the Going North podcast, and then we're going to get into the personal stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, the Going North podcast, the time of this recording, I know we're streaming live. Next week, episode 1000 goes live, and got a big guest for that one. He's the executive vice president of Maxwell Leadership, Chris Robinson, and he is a product of the product, as you would say. He's actually one of the founding members of the Maxwell team when it was still the Maxwell team, and he did so much work to where folks took notice at the top and decided to really promote him to that title within the organization and to help out John continue out his legacy. And the podcast itself, that started from a place of really just wanting to market my first ever book, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself. And that was about a good, I'd say, September. So almost a year after my first book was published, the podcast came to be because I wanted to market it. Because sadly, after writing my book back in October 2016, my father passed away about 5 months later in 2017, March 2017, and really just didn't even focus on the book itself, just was dealing with all the anticipatory grief and really
Mhm.
just making sure everything was really set up for everything to go over swimmingly with all the stuff that was going on and ducks in the road, dotting every I, crossing every T, and things like that. And then it just hit me after. It was like, oh wow, like that was one heck of a ride. And I forgot about the whole book and the speaking business I was starting to build. And I figured, oh, I need a way to market this. And the podcast was an idea because for years folks told me I had this radio voice. So I was like, well, I might as well use it for something. Folks might even pay me for it. And I decided to really just finally get my mind on starting a podcast. And it was a rough journey because the thing was, I had an idea. It was called 50 Days of Inspiration. This was probably around July. And hopefully around the end of August, I was going to have the podcast launch on day 50 of 50 Days of Inspiration because I was just sharing motivational quotes every day, one new quote a day. And it was like, oh, I wonder why Dom's doing this. It's something different. I kind of like it. And it's like, boom, surprise. Well, day 50 came, but there was no podcast because the thing was, I had to launch at least with 5 episodes, only had maybe 2 episodes that were semi-edited. And the first episode I wanted to launch, the audio was so bad, I had to find someone to outsource it to really fix it. And I had to find a couple people because the audio was just so bad. And not only that, I had to figure out how to use a podcast launching, basically a pod launching website like Libsyn or Buzzsprout or
Mhm.
like even Podetize, and I didn't have that set up. So I basically had a delay, but it wasn't a denial because September 14th ended up launching my podcast on SoundCloud and launching with 6 episodes, and then eventually got picked up by iTunes after I figured out how to use a podcast hosting platform. And then it just 100 flowers just blossomed after that, where the show is all about featuring fellow authors and getting their stories out there, especially indie authors who aren't backed by traditional publishing houses. Because the thing is, authors need publicity, and being a hub for that to not only promote their work, but also to learn from myself, because I learn from my guests all the time. I've had a lot of growth from the guests that have just guested on, and it's just amazing how just about 8 years later, 1,000 episodes later, still going strong with it when I had no idea how long I was going to do this or where it was going to take me. And that's just the power of really just having an idea, staying consistent with it, and always making sure you chisel the marble that you have in this life of yours to where when you eventually get your old perfect statue of David, we have to move on to the next life. You can at least be glad you did some beautiful work.
So when you were working with authors, what's some advice you could give others who are looking to write a book?
Sure thing. One of the major pieces to really get a book done, especially if it's a nonfiction book, is to start with an outline. Definitely start with an outline because the thing is, you're basically creating the vertebrae, the backbone of your wonderful book because you get to start with the intro, whatever your points are, whether they're seven, whether they're 9 chapters, 30 chapters, a conclusion, like just starting with that and then working your way through that outline because that was one of the ways that I got my first ever book done going north because that book was written on a dare and I had a year to get it done. And the outline really helped because I wrote basically the 9 things I wanted to talk about, put them on a list, and then I scheduled myself for certain times to go to coffee shops to really just deep focus in on writing about those subjects. And sometimes I'd be lucky to get a paragraph, but hey, it was good enough for that moment. I could always move to the next subject and put in the book for later and polish it up later. And that really was the major key to really getting the book done is just setting an outline, really giving yourself a deadline so that way you can put a dead end on procrastination. And also making sure you stay around positive people because the thing is, certain people I told I was going to write that book. I only told certain people. And the thing is, you have to be careful who you share
Yes.
your goals, dreams, and desires with because some of them, they may try to talk you out of it. So, yeah. So, definitely have an outline, right towards getting it done, set deadlines, and really get in your place of productivity.
Yes, that does work. And as you said, when you're writing a book, you don't need to just share it with everybody because, my God, all of the input that people will volunteer for you, you won't ever finish the book.
Yeah. It's like I got a volunteer organization for you. It ain't my book, but it's the one that's been around for hundreds of years. Yeah, I get volunteer for that, buddy. It's like
So, as a certified Maxwell Leadership Team trainer, what are some of the core values that you help leaders embrace?
definitely 4 that I live by, and the main thing is to really be people of value, adding value to other people, and to really take a next level on that, just really helping folks to unleash their value. Because if you're living and breathing, you have value to really add to this wonderful world that we live in. Because we all need encouragement, and it's good to encourage each other, and that's one way to really add value and be a person of value. And really respecting one another is a main thing, as well as integrity, definitely service and excellence. Those are also other values too, because John talks about servant leadership. I'm a big proponent of servant leadership. That's really how I've gotten a lot of the success and wins in my life is really being of service to others and really helping them get what they need, whether it's supervising other folks, heck, even coaching other people, even giving talks and delivering keynotes at events, and really just being out and about in the world when it comes to interacting with other people is just really being a person who is of value serving other people and really keeping them at the forefront. Because the thing is, sometimes there may be times where you're having a bad day and you have to just remind yourself, like, hey, like let me get a word for the day. You know what? Let's make excellence the word for the day. Where can I be excellent in today? Like service, like who can I help today? So that way I can not focus on my own problems. I can be of service to others. Like who like integrity, like making sure, like, hey, if I say I'm gonna do this thing, making sure that I do it and stick to it. Because that sets you apart from a lot of people because a lot of people like to talk and really try to future cast things that they want to manifest in the world, but sometimes it doesn't always happen because they don't back it up with the work. So those are just some of the values that I really like to instill in others by making sure I'm the example of it, because that's really the best way for really helping others to instill the values is really living them out yourself, because a lot of things are caught more than taught.
That is so true. That really is. As I think about what you just said, that is so true. We do a lot of talking.
Oh yeah.
And for those of you who know me, you know I don't mean any harm, because if you're one of the people who are doing a lot of talking, I've already told you that. So, so I'm not spilling any secrets here. So. So, what's the difference between being productive and being impactful?
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's that PhD for you. That's what I'm talking about. Productive
Yes,
and
I do
impactful.
have. I forget often I have one of those. Okay.
No, that's a great question because the thing is, you could do things all day, but it may not have a lot of impact because sometimes, especially when it comes to really, it could be anything. I know one thing. Funny enough, John is one of his Sunday services he would have at his conferences. The leadership training is that he would basically tell a story about when he was early in his ministry, how he had a goal to really at least bring one new soul to Christ every week, at least one new soul to Christ every weekend. After a while, he wasn't getting anyone, and the thing was, he was so gung ho and so full of energy and youthful energy that he forgot that sometimes you got to plant seeds and let others do the watering and let things manifest. And it's been at least two times where I've been to the training where it would be after folks would hear him give a sermon. And the thing is, when it comes to the Sunday service that he has early on Sunday mornings or whenever the event is, like that's you don't have to pay to be in the room for that. Like that's free of charge for anybody because the word of God, it's free for everyone. And
Mhm.
just the people that go up to really give their lives over to Christ, like that, like those weeks where he would have nobody show up to church or wouldn't commit their life to Christ in that week, like there would be just hundreds of people that would show up and they would give them Bibles and equip them and give them the Romans road and help them to really get their lives on that faith walk. And the thing was, it's like, oh yeah, you're out and about, you're busy doing this work every week and just really evangelizing. But at the same time, being impactful is sometimes it takes a little longer than just doing the day to day
Mhm.
and really expecting it to happen all at once. Sometimes impact takes time.
Yes, it does, especially with books. I think I had to learn the hard way that they don't sell themselves.
Oh no, they don't. Yeah, yeah. It's a drip in the faucet sometimes. Like, oh god, uh,
Yeah.
where's the water in the faucet? It's a drip. No, get the cup. Make sure you catch the drip.
So, so how do you stay encouraged when the impact of your work isn't immediately visible? Because a lot of people really lose it at that point. They and I have to say that what I do is really simple when that happens to me. I just go take a nap. Okay. Because I feel like I need to get out of my own way. So the only way I can get out of my own way is I go take a nap. So that's what I do. But what do you do?
That's a good thing because sometimes you just need a nap. Sometimes you need some sleep. The brain just
Mhm.
needs a little pit stop, if you will. Sometimes it may even give your brain some homework. It's like, hey, when I wake up, I'm gonna have a new way to market my book here. But one of the things I do is I usually keep motivational messages all around me. One one guy, the late John MacArthur, evangelical preacher. There's been some controversy in his life, but one quote when I heard the story about the time where a preacher friend of his, John Piper, where he basically shared about one time he was just disencouraged and he was telling John about it because John walked by. I was like, man, what's wrong with you, man? You okay? He was
Mhm.
like, man, I'm just so sad, man. He's like, dude, I don't have time to get discouraged. I just move along until I get to the next thing that needs to be done. Like sometimes you just have to really just motivate yourself with keeping positive words in front of you where you're focused on the main thing, knowing your why of why you're here in life. And not only just quotes of like that nature of just making sure you don't have time to be discouraged, make sure you move on to the next thing. Like, hey, another one like haters make you greater. I forgot where I heard that from exactly, but just that one sticky note that I keep around because there may be some haters out there. If you're really out there promoting yourself enough, eventually you may get some responses, and not all of them you're gonna like. And usually I just ignore those folks because it's like, hey, if someone's hating, that means they engage with the post, and social media algorithm's going to continue to keep that post alive. Or if it's in life, it's like, hey, well, I got acknowledgments. That means I'm still here and I'm still alive. So, hey, that means I'm doing something right. Just really keeping positive quotes in front of me. And really
Mhm.
also sometimes like YouTube, it's like a machine with sometimes these affirmations. Sometimes I'll just put on a 1 hour affirmation video where I just go to sleep to. It's a positive affirmation to really just get my mind on something while I'm going to sleep. Heck, even reading the Bible itself, especially Proverbs, definitely encouraging the wisdom from there, and really other great books too. So really just the power of words altogether. Quotes, sticky notes, just those affirmations. Heck, even some of my old speeches that I would keep on
Mhm.
recording and being like, "Oh, this was good." Like, "Ooh, I sounded horrible." Like, I'm glad I'm not as bad as I was back then. Like, just really keeping things at the forefront.
Oh, I know. That's absolutely wonderful.
Gotta laugh yourself too. That's another way of
That's right.
encouragement.
And for those of you listening, when you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, I like to let people know that it doesn't always look like you think it's going to look. Okay. So, and the process itself is not always pretty. Okay. Just so you know that too. Okay. And you just kind of get used to that. And as Dom just said, not everybody's gonna like it. Okay. So, like I tell my grandson, okay, if your mother and daddy like it and your grandparents like it, it's good. So, yeah, because sometimes that's as big as your audience is going to get for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. This is great. So you are a multi-passionate leader. So you're an author, a trainer, a podcaster. How do you keep from burning out?
Definitely self-care is the main thing, and I ain't talking mani-pedis because I don't even do them. I'm sure you got audience folks that love them. I'm not in that crowd to love them, but self-care is making sure you get at least a decent amount of sleep, at least a good 7.5 hours usually, if you can, definitely. Also, keeping yourself hydrated. Guest ad on my show, Julie Renee Doring. She has done multiple studies on making sure your body's in peak performance state, and one of the things that she mentions that a lot of folks these days tend to not stay hydrated, and
Yes.
sometimes it's better to sip on water every 30 minutes or so as opposed to guzzling down water every few hours, because the thing is, when you sip every 30 minutes, that keeps your body hydrated, especially your brain, and that's especially integral and important for folks as we age, because that's also help another way to fend off the Alzheimer's and dementia. Because one of the times when my dad was going through his Alzheimer's, when one of the times we had to sadly take him to the ER, he was badly dehydrated because we would give him water to drink and he wouldn't really drink much of it. And he was dehydrated so bad he had a episode where he would hallucinate. And when we take him to the ER to get him checked out, they said he was badly dehydrated. And just the living example, living with that. And when a few years later after him passing away and hearing that, I'm like, you know what, that does make sense. So just incorporating more hydration into the routine. Also making sure you schedule things too, because Pastor Bob Thibodeau, fellow podcasting buddy of mine, he mentions that, hey, if it's not on the phone, it ain't getting done, because the thing is, you got to really schedule things. Like you, like Dr. Stephanie here, like she is Calendly just like me, where it's like, hey, you're going to get reminders, going to be built in your calendar,
Mhm.
and those are really important, because there are going to be some days, if you're not careful, you might accidentally double book if you don't have the proper boundaries in place, or you might forget. You might be like, oh, I got this evening to myself and everything. I'm about to get so much backlog knocked off this wonderful tree of just things to do. And it's like, oh, whoops. Our reminder before. Never mind. Let me not do that. Notifications are your friends, folks.
So don't feel bad if you all put them on your phone and they start dinging, because that they're there for that purpose. And tell the young lady that she was really right about. Now I'm not mad at my doctor, but about drinking more water. But so tell her she was really right, because I went through this thing when my blood pressure was high, but I don't eat food to make blood pressure high, and I walk and I work out and I do all of that, and I'm the right size and all of that. And I was in the doctor, and for the first time ever, someone asked me how much water I drank. So I said I drank the standard 3 liters of water. That's what everybody's supposed to be drinking a day. And he says, well, what do you do all day? And then I told him about 6 exercise classes. I walk 50 miles a week and hike and I do this. He says, oh no, honey, you need much more water. Okay. So then when I started just sipping on the water regularly instead of just drinking water 3 or 4 times a day, like you said, it's like blood pressure went down just like that. So you guys, water is important when you work, especially because you can even hear from Dom, we get tied up into these things that we love to do, and you will forget to eat and drink water. So don't do that, okay? That's not good for you. You may not get that book out that we need to read. So I need you all to get your books out, because somebody needs to read it, probably me. And so get your books out. So I know you have calendars and all of those kinds of things, and you exercise and you eat right, but do you take out some time for yourself to do nothing, just so your ideas can flow to you? Because a lot of us don't know how to do that.
I do. Sometimes daily, if you will, because sometimes the alarm goes off and then it's like, oh, well, let me see here. I got 20 extra minutes I can spare here. It's like, oh, I can meditate, or I can just lay here and do nothing and make sure the snooze goes off in 20 more minutes. It's like, all right, let me go ahead and just hit that snooze button and stay awake and sit up so that way I don't fall back asleep. So that way I can think about something. It's like, oh, like, hey, there's that idea I was thinking about. It's like, all right, let me write these things down, because it does pay off to just sometimes do nothing. I still remember, funny enough, this was back in class where this is probably like back in late teens, early 20s, when I was taking these courses where I was so into getting the work done that I really haven't really did anything for myself, or did anything where I just was actually consciously not doing anything. Like, because sometimes the only quiet time people have is when they go to sleep. And it's great to go to sleep, but you got to have some quiet time while you're awake too, so you can process things, allow your brain to really have that pause, and not just bear or dog pause, but really just that pause, like you're in a video game, pressing that pause button for a second and realizing, oh, there's this thing I was thinking about. Let me go ahead and write that down. Like, here's a wonderful title for a new book I haven't even thought about. And then sometimes when you sit around and do nothing, if you will, for a couple minutes, not all day, you actually get to clear your mind of some things, and also just keeping pen and paper around you too. Because even though I have notifications on my phone for certain appointments and agreements, I still love pen and paper, because there's still a higher chance. I'm sure the studies have been done out there. Heck, I think there's even a book out there called The Power of Writing Things Down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they went to the studies about that, but just something about writing things down and really just going back and checking them off, and it just really sticks with you a lot longer. So yeah, there are days and times where I just do nothing, because it's like, yep, I'm gonna just be. I don't need to even shave my head or put on an orange robe or a bed sheet. I just stay here doing nothing.
Well, I'm going to have to train my to-do list, because when I think I'm going to sit down for a while, one of them knocks on my head. Come on, we got to get this done.
Because you're a doer.
Yes, I am. I am a doer. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm a doer. That's right. I don't know where I got that from, but yes, I'm a doer. But I think, though, some of the reward is the finished project and having finished the project and stuff. So that's my reward for it. So I'll stick with it until that. Now, unfortunately, once I see the final product and I like it, I'm done with it, and I got to go do something else. So, but yeah, I like to see the finished product. So how do you help people tap into this part of themselves so that they too can start to live their dreams? Because a lot of people want to do stuff, anywhere from writing a book to getting another degree, whatever it is. How do you help them tap into that part of themselves so that they can start to do that for themselves? So, people, you're listening. This is the time when you had that pencil and paper that I always talk about. So you need to be writing down notes. Okay. Now,
Yeah, those pen moments are great moments for later. The power of writing things down, call back from earlier. Good times indeed. Yeah, one of my favorite really activities when it comes to helping out folks, especially when we're just starting out, is really just the 7 whys of where it's like, oh, I want to write a book. All right, why do you want to write a book? It's like, hey, I heard you can give money. It's like, well, okay, yeah, but you got to do stuff around that. But all right, so really, why do you want to write a book? It's like, oh, because I want to tell my story. Okay, why do you want to tell your story? It's like, oh, it's because I love sharing stories. All right, so why do you love sharing stories? Oh, it's because someone told me stories when I was a child, and I used to always love hearing stories because they made me feel good about myself. And just asking why again. It's like, oh, we're getting even deeper now. It's like, so why'd you enjoy the stories as a child? It's like, oh yeah, because I would go into another world and really just picture things, and it would take me out of the situation where I had a rough childhood. And it's like, oh, so that's why. So the thing is, you really want to write this book because you want to share stories with other people. So that way, if they're having a rough day or going through a rough patch in life, they can get into another world and imagine something different as opposed to what's really going on around them. And then just going from there, because the thing is, a lot of surface level stuff, like the why question, especially asking it 7 times, it's a shovel, if you will, to really dig for that gold that we have beneath us.
Mhm.
Hence why I like to say, unleash the value that other people's has, because, like, hey, we all have value. If you're living and breathing, you have value, and sometimes you just have to dig for it. And just digging to getting to that foundational answer, that fundamental answer is like, okay, it's like, yeah, money, that's the surface, that's the outside looking in. But hey, it's like, oh, I just want to help folks to really get their mind off of their daily lives and really just focus on something else. Take them to a world, build up the world, have all these great characters in it and things like that. And just really digging in and getting deep. And you can even do it for yourself too. Just really, just if you want to get deep into yourself, like, hey, why do I want to do this thing? Asking yourself why 7 times, and then just making sure that you keep asking till you get to the real focused answer, because sometimes that clarity just appears like a light bulb moment. You're like, oh, so that's the real reason. Like, I've been so much in this miasma, this fog, all this dark clouds, if you will, just walking around in this mist of, oh yeah, the day to day stuff. When truth be told, you've been in the day to day that you didn't dig deep enough to really figure out, oh, this is the true reason for everything. You didn't find that true gold, that true platinum that you've been having in you this whole time, that you've been waiting to really bring out and share with the world.
That's pretty cool. So, so people who sometimes they don't really know why they want to do something, the 7 whys would be really good. But what happens, or what should they do if they get through them and now they have the purpose of why, and it's bigger than what they ever thought it was going to be? So,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely indeed. One of my favorite activities. I'm probably gonna get a lot of activities today. Usually called the 2020 method. One of my coaches taught me this, and I think he got it from Brian Tracy, funny enough. And it's basically where you have this big idea of where it's like, okay, write a book. I want to write a book in 2025 or have it done by the end of 2026 within a year of listening to this podcast. It's like, all right, cool. How am I going to get it done? You write down 20 things of things you're going to do to help get yourself close to that goal. It's like, all right, so Dom mentioned write an outline during this conversation. Like, hey, let me write an outline for the book. All right, I want to think of a title for the book. All right, let me think of a title for the book. Like, come with a title. So write an outline, come up with a title, listen to podcasts about writing. I recommend Joanna Penn's podcast for folks who want to aspire to be writers, as well as the Going North podcast. Check that out. Maybe interview writers out there and just getting some tips from them. Heck, joining a writers club. I know there's also a lot of writers guilds out there. I know there's the Black
Mhm.
Writers Guild in Maryland. That's a really popular one as well. Definitely Facebook groups. Those are always good. Like, especially during the pandemic era where a lot of folks were on Zoom. Like it, even though folks couldn't physically really be in the same room the way they want to, they were able to come out of the pandemic and still do those Zoom rooms. So if you're not fully Zoom fatigued out and you're so busy that you don't want to waste gas and go to a physical place still, check out and see what virtual place you can find for writing groups to really get feedback when you're writing. Heck, even going to your local library, check out books on writing, and
Mhm.
then really have a writing plan of, hey, every weekend, every Saturday, I'm going to dedicate 2 hours to just writing and just content development, just focusing on things to do. And you got yourself a list of things there. That's probably at least 7 to 10 items I just listed there
Mhm.
on your way to 20 items for writing your book by the end of 2026. So really, once you do those 7 whys, you have the why, the big goal on top. Then you have 20 things you want to think about to really get closer to achieving that goal. And always just go back and see how close you are to getting closer to really getting to that goal when you write down the 20 to do items to really get close to it and make it happen.
So now that you've written these books, which one is your favorite?
My favorite, it's definitely the next one. I'll go with that one. And the funny thing is, I don't even know what the next one's going to be because I've had this podcasting book on my back ever since 2020. I got this quote book that should be the next book that's coming out. And then I got the 10th anniversary of my first book, Going North Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, that'll be launching in October 2026. So, whatever the next book is, we'll let that one be the favorite one because I ain't stopping yet.
And where can the audience find your books?
Yeah, just head over to Amazon, type in Dom Brightmon, books will pop up. I got 4 for you. I got a journal, 2 solos, and an anthology. Fun for all ages.
So when you're writing, does your book tap you on the shoulder and tell you it wants to be written? Because that happens to me.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, hey, buddy, hey, you got this idea. Like, come on, make me form it to the real world, buddy. It's like I'm tired of being a blob here, man. Like, manifest me already. Like, fine. And it's like, up, nope, shiny squirrel syndrome. It's another shiny penny too. Like, all right, it's either the bushy tail or the shiny penny. Which one we're going for? It's like, oh darn! And now a dollar piece showed up out of nowhere. Sacagawea. Oh, buddy, another idea. All right.
That's right.
Uh,
So you're gonna go
very
eeny,
real.
meeny, miny, mo, or just close your eyes and pick one.
Yeah. It's like, all right, so how I'm 60% done with this. I'm all right, let me try and get this one done. It's like, all right. It's like, oops, repeating myself in chapter 1. This is chapter 6. Whoops, glad I saw that. I would take that out.
So in writing books, some people believe that writing a book is such a powerful tool to just transform your legacy. So what do you think about that?
I agree with it because the thing is, I like to call book writing the business of immortality. Another book I like to add to folks' reading list if they've been keeping account, and I haven't been keeping account myself. Another book for folks to read is the 7 Lost Secrets of Success
Yeah.
by Dr. Joe Vitale. And
Yeah.
in that powerful book, he shares the story of Bruce Barton, who wrote a couple wonderful books. One of them called The Man That Nobody Knows and The Jesus That Nobody Knows. And he basically took the story of Jesus and applied some of the stories from his life that you can find in the Bible and the Gospels and really applied them to business. It was like, hey, if Jesus was a businessman, just using these examples from these accounts of people that saw him work miracles in his day, like this is what you would do. And just the books that, and this was I think this was the early 1920s before the Depression when these books came out. And just Dr. Joe finding those books decades later, just sharing the power, like, hey, like a book is one of the ways that you can really help you live out your legacy long after you're gone. It's like, hey, you have a piece of yourself that's still here in written form where folks can check out what you were thinking at the time, check out what you were about at the time, where it's like, hey, even though the body's not here, you can still read the words that they were thinking even long after they're gone. So, like, really, writing a book is a way to really become immortal, if you will, just putting out that great content out there for folks to really check back on years after you're gone. So, that's really what it's all about, leaving a legacy and joining that wonderful business of immortality.
Perfect. Joe Vitale is pretty cool for those of you listening. And he's still doing stuff online too. He has great affirmations and things that will keep you motivated to get to the end line, because sometimes we get started and I'm sure I'm the only one that does this. It's like you get started and then you get tired of it and you put it over there because you need some rest, you know. But Joe Vitale is really good about giving you what you need in small bites so that you can actually finish what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing in your life that you could change, what would it be?
Let's see, a $50 bill for $51 bills. That's one thing I like to change. Let me stop. That's not what I would change. that don't even make any sense either. It's like, why would you want to have $51 bills for? That makes no sense. I have to say, definitely one thing I would like to change. I mean, some folks would say nothing, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so definitely. I think one thing I would probably go back and change if I had the knowledge that I had now would basically join Toastmaster International sooner. I would have joined it right at 18 as opposed to, I think it was 21 when I joined, 21, 22 when I joined. So definitely I would have joined it a lot sooner. Definitely, because that would have put me even further at an edge, because when I joined that organization, I originally joined to network and find a speaker to really help put on a seminar for my church to help them with public speaking. And there were some blessings on the table that I was going to leave behind if I didn't stay with them, because after that event went off without a hitch, I had 90 attendees that Saturday afternoon, which is a hard time for certain events. It was just, hey, let me just keep going here. And we probably wouldn't even have this conversation today if I didn't stick with Toastmasters with everything under my belt. So I'd definitely say I would have joined Toastmasters sooner, around 18 as opposed to my early 20s.
Okay. So we're getting really close to the end of the podcast. So what do you want to leave the people who are listening to it today and next week or next month or whenever they find it? And I know it sounds funny, but I got someone who sent me an email about a podcast I did like last year. So I'm glad that they're living like that, because you can find them on YouTube, so they don't get taken off as often as they were taking them off and removing them from all the other platforms. YouTube just let them stay there. So I'm glad you guys do like the information, but I'm going to try to get it to you sooner. Okay.
They're still lost in Tibet somewhere.
Right. So what do they need to do? What can they do right now that will change their lives and put them in a place to where they could go and start to do the things that they said that they were going to do, or the things that their soul is telling them to do? Because a lot of times it's not us, it's that other higher power that's saying, you were sent here to do this. Now you need to go do this. Okay. Because those people over there are acting stupid because you didn't do this. Okay. So that's kind of how I see the world. Somebody isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing because them people acting crazy over there. Okay, now I know I'm writing my books. So what y'all doing?
Classic old Bible story of a Jonah in the whale situation. Be like, hey,
Mhm.
buddy, you're causing trouble by not doing what you're supposed to do. Throw him overboard and he ends up in a fish belly. Like, oh, no, Whale University. No, 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 not Whale University. Darn it. I didn't fill out the admission papers for this. Like, darn it. How I get financial aid for this place? How much you're going to charge me? Darn it. For the diploma. It's like, oh, wait, I'm in Nineveh. Darn it.
You
Oh,
had a
man.
great you you have a great personality. I know your friends just love hanging out with you.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. Corn kernels for days. They eventually start turning like corny jokes too. It's beautiful. I like to jokingly call it brainwash. It's like, all right, cool. You're telling more dad jokes. And you're not even a dad yet. It's like it's beautiful. Gets them going. But yeah, back to the original question though about just one thing. Definitely just if they want to, like I said a lot during this conversation. I'd say
Mhm.
the name of the game is pick one thing and stick with it.
Okay.
Like the 20-20 method thing, like really just pick one of the things off that list if you took that advice and really just focus on doing that one thing. Because the thing is, heck, even really just knocking out some goals every day. It's one thing I've started doing. I'd say around late spring, early summer, where I would have this thing called 10 goals over 10 days, where I write down 10 things I want to make sure that I get done over the next 10 days. Where it's like, hey, even though I try to get a maximum of 6 things for a to do list, some of those things is just random things and chores. But if it's like business related and things like that,
Mhm.
it's like, hey, I want to make sure those are 10 goals I want to get done in 10 days and just grab a goal, make sure you knock that out and check it off your checkbox and just keep going with it because I know there's some folks out there who may be like, oh yeah, some folks don't do to-do lists because they just schedule it. It's like, okay, well, go ahead and schedule it. Like go ahead and put it on your phone if you don't want to use pen and paper. But name of the game, just do something. Like don't get content all day and then just have information constipation for months, if not years, because you soaked in and absorbed all this great content that Dr. Stephanie's sharing with the listeners and watchers because you haven't did anything with it.
Yeah, and one thing people I forget, I think, like you said, you can write it down. You don't have to write it down. You can write it in pen, chalk, you can do whatever that is. But I have found one thing useful is I write down when I get up in the morning, and I learned this from one of the Mind Valley people, is when I get up, I write down what I have accomplished already, not what I'm going to do, but what I'm going to accomplish that day. So I look ahead in my day before I get out of bed and I write down what I'm going to accomplish. Okay. Now, those who know me say I do too much, and they probably right, but you can put down one or two things, but try to put three things down. Okay. I do 10, but try to be three. Don't be me. Okay. Try to be three. And then I also write down what is going to happen the next day. So, and when you do that, I have found that I don't do all 10 things all the time, but I get a lot more accomplished than I would have is I didn't do anything. And then what I expect to happen that day, the next day, I'm amazed because most of it happens. Now I don't get 100%. Some days I don't get but 25, but you're moving forward. And you
Yep.
need to move forward. So I have enjoyed this. So I'm going to ask you for a little nugget of wisdom for everyone to be able to write down and follow and do it so that they too can start to be comfortable or uncomfortable doing the 2020 method or the 7 whys, because you don't have to be comfortable. There's nothing around here that says we came here to be comfortable. Uh,
Oh yeah,
um,
definitely.
yeah. So you're going to be uncomfortable a lot of times, but the uncomfortability is going to be worth it. And then you're going to have these great jokes that people are going to love to listen to when you achieve it. So
Yeah, it's true.
You see, it's
Well,
true.
speaking of jokes, I guess I'll share one of my favorite ones to throw on stage. Name of the game is "Be Better and Not Butter." And folks are probably thinking, like, the heck does he even mean by that? Isn't it better, not bitter? Well, it can be that too. The thing is, butter melts when it's hot. You don't want to melt when it's hot. So when the pressure comes, seek to be better than what you were yesterday.
That's great. That is absolutely fantastic. So, with that, we're going to come to a close. And as I say to all of my audience, may this day offer you just what you need in each unfolding moment. I want you to trust your greatness and embrace your power. I want you to be inspired, until further notice, just celebrate everything, okay? Do not go gently into that good night. I want you to find a hill worth dying for and take it and be the person that you are waiting for. Make today so awesome that yesterday gets jealous, and above all else, just do it your way. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, the Empowerment Doctor, and as I always say, life is too short to drink cheap champagne, and with the right pair of shoes, you can accomplish anything. So with that, I want to thank you, Dom, for being on the show. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed it. It's absolutely fantastic. And I know that the audience has too. So I want you to just keep doing all the wonderful things you do. And please keep your sense of humor. I absolutely love it.
Will do. Like a honeydew and Mountain Dew.
Yes. I
With
just
a
love
hairdo on the honeydew.
So remind us where we can get your books again, because we didn't do all this. Now y'all supposed to go out and get some books. Now remind me where we can get your books again. Remind the audience.
Yep, check them out on Amazon.com, wherever books are sold. Just look up my name, Dom Brightmon, and you can check them out there on DomBrightmon.com as well. So, name of the game, just head over to Amazon or DomBrightmon.com and check them out like a library book.
That's right. So thank you guys for watching, and we're just going to say good night. You've got homework to do, so get busy.
Life's too short to drink cheap champagne, so I decided to buy me a better brand to taste with my strawberry